Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Et c'est un grand plaisir de prendre la parole aujourd'hui pour appuyer le projet de loi C9, loi modifiant la loi sur les juges. Ce projet de loi propose de réformer en profondeur un processus qui est essentiel à la confiance du public dans notre système de justice, les mécanismes utilisés pour examiner les allégations d'inconduite judiciaire. Et, Monsieur le Président, si nous avons une classe des lois dans cette Chambre où nous devrions avoir le consensus, où nous devrions avoir l'unanimité, ce sont des lois qui affectent le système de justice. I've been really pleased in the time I've been in the House to see the nonpartisan way that members have been able to work together on justice-related issues on many, many occasions. And I'm going to outline one that just happened last week. My honourable colleague from St. Albert, Edmonton, had proposed a bill, a private member's bill, carving out an exception for allowing jurors to speak to mental health professionals about what happened during the time they were in deliberations. Up until now, the criminal code has prohibited jurors from doing so, thus creating a problem where a juror who is profoundly affected by what happens in deliberations is unable to speak about it to somebody that can counsel them on their mental health. We at the Justice Committee heard from jurors. We put forward a package of recommendations in the 2015 to 2019 Parliament related to how we should improve the life of jurors. My colleague from St. Albert, Edmonton worked with a colleague in the Senate. They put this forward in both houses, and they were able to secure the adoption unanimously of a bill that will profoundly change the life of jurors. And that is the way we should do things in this House more frequently. And this bill is another excellent example of where there's been profound collegiality, there's been a lot of consultation, and there's a general consensus that we should move forward. And I echo my dear friend from Sandwich Gulf Islands that we should find a way to pass this before we have any type of summer break. So that being said, one of the things that I think is really important also in this country is the respect for our institutions. We have wonderful federal judges that have been appointed in this country, people of great distinction in their field. And people need to have confidence when they go before a court that judges are impartial, fair, and that judges have the ability to fairly adjudicate their case, which means we need to have a process for judges who are accused of misconduct that the public can trust. I would say, Mr. Speaker, that there are things in this country we should not question. We should not be questioning the central bank. We should not be questioning the justice system. We should have profound confidence in these national institutions, no matter what our party, no matter what our political leanings. And therefore, it's up to us as parliamentarians to create laws that provide that confidence. This bill does that in three essential ways. Number one, it ensures that judges that are accused of things, and I'm going to use the example of my friend from Esquimalt Sanic that he used earlier, a judge who is photographed between the time that he finishes judging a case and the opinion is published, takes a picture with a group of people that are party to the case, doesn't necessarily warrant that judge's removal from office for life and an act of both houses of Parliament to remove them. But right now, there are no sanctions below removal that are available to the Canadian Judicial Council. And so this bill offers us with alternatives, training, apology in public, other things that a judge can do to excuse behavior that doesn't rise to the level of warranting removal. Number two, we've seen a misuse of the system. We've seen judges that have been accused, and there have been very few because, again, our judges are a very, very distinguished, excellent group of people, and I don't want anything I say in this speech to be considered a slap in the face to the federal judiciary that is made up of excellent people. But there are always some people that are alleged to and commit some misconduct, and the idea that people can tie this up in knots for years and years and years until they're able to get their pension to appeal doesn't make any sense. Donc, je suis très content que nous avons maintenant un processus où il y aura un panel de ou 3 personnes ou 5 personnes en commençant si c'est une allégation qui est profondément troublante, qui peut être appelée directement à la Cour suprême du Canada. dont il n'y aura pas des appels à la Cour fédérale d'appel. Ça va aller beaucoup plus vite. Et je crois que ça, c'est quelque chose qui est très, très important. Il y a quelque chose d'autre qui est important, Monsieur le Président, qui est la transparence. Maintenant, il n'y a aucune obligation de le Canadian Judges Council de faire un rapport annuel de toutes les plaintes qui ont été faites. Maintenant, il y aura une obligation annuelle de dire on a eu telle et telle plainte et ça, c'est la manière qu'on a résolu toutes ces différentes plaintes. Et ça, c'est aussi important, Monsieur le Président, pour la transparence. I'd also like to mention there's been a lot of discussions in this House about the importance of the rights of victims, and let me say, Mr. Speaker, that I think from all parties, from every parliamentarian, there's a profound respect for the rights of victims and the need for victims to feel that they were fairly served by the justice system. It's very, very important to respect the rights of a criminal defendant, but it is also important to make sure that victims are considered throughout the process. This process that will now be in place will be a faster process, meaning that victims will, or people who are alleged to have been the victims of misconduct, I don't want to say victims, will have their due, a final decision, much faster than they would otherwise have had it. And that also is important, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to sort of move now to a clarion call. I want to just say that there's often, especially at the end of the session, a lot of partisanship, a lot of anger, and we can do, as a group, so much good. I know from experience, having worked with conservative colleagues like my friend from Sarnia-Lambton, mes collègues de l'NPD, I've worked often with the member from Edmonton-Strathcona, for example, my friend from St. Ishkal-Fallons, les députés de Bloc. On a tous travaillé ensemble pour faire des choses qui sont constructives. Et je crois que si nous utilisons la prochaine semaine pour le faire, pour adopter les projets de loi où il y a grand consensus qui sont constructifs, on va accomplir beaucoup. Donc, Monsieur le Président, je demanderai à mes collègues dans cette Chambre de trouver un moyen, ensemble, d'adopter ce projet de loi avant la fin de juin. Et je crois, Monsieur le Président, ce serait non seulement un grand chose pour les Canadiens, but it will allow us again to show Canadians who I think today are discouraged when they see the acrimony that is floating around in this House. They'll see that parliamentarians really can work together and accomplish things. And I think that confidence in our national institutions is so important to restore. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.